Wow. What's up, bro? Oh, yeah. What's up, Frylock gang? It's Frylock. Your stream of Alabaster on. But before that, we're gonna watch a video on the digital circus. I need a kolache here today in the strong green tea. But how's everybody doing?
Actually one of God's angels. Anyone who causes harm to an angel will be dragged into the pits of hell, and that is exactly what happens. While the rest of the circus members are busy having tea with ghosts and meeting friendly ones, Pomni and Kinger are in this purgatory state. The cassette mentions that he needs a host, and supposedly Kinger and Pomni are those hosts. He said that any breath they take down there will be their last. So Pomni steps into the hallway, which is foggy and dusty, before quickly getting possessed. During this possession, the demon, or whatever it was, says, "How's your wife, Kinger?" The demon ends up leaving Pomni's body, and she has a very well-deserved cry and breakdown of being stuck in literal hell. I'm a huge fan of Kinger being, like, normal. He's incredibly charismatic when he's not being stupid and crazy. Kinger says 7 years computer science for this, which proves my entomologist theory wrong. Kinger begins to apologize for getting him and Pomni in this mess, and as a way to distract and comfort her, he tells her about his wife who was also in the circus with him. Right after she abstracted, the two ended up in his pillow fort, and he goes on to say that the darkness helped calm her a little, just enough for her to reach out and touch her one last time before she was sent down to the cellar by Cain. The darkness always reminds him of that time, so darkness seems to help him be not as insane. He then rambles a little about her, how she was funny and creative, and how she really liked entomology, and that's the reason that Kinger likes bugs so much. Okay, so I was kinda right, but not really. After Kinger and Pomni have a small heart-to-heart, which made me a little emotional, I'm not gonna lie, Kinger then has it click in his mind that Mr. Mildenhall said any breath you take down here will be your last, so he gets the idea to walk through the hallway without breathing. So, with Pomni's hand in his, they reluctantly walk down the hallway while holding their breath, and Kinger starts glowing, and it's a really sweet moment. The music during that scene is also incredibly beautiful and moving. The two finally make their way back to the others, where Kinger's normalcy begins to fade, and he returns back to his quirky and crazy self. They return back to the circus, and Pomni watches as Kinger retreats back into the pillow fort with a sweet smile before the outro plays. This was absolutely the best episode so far. It really made me open up about Kinger a little, and the plot of the adventure was actually a bit intriguing to me. The animation also spiked in quality compared to the last two episodes, which is always fantastic to see. I'd rate this episode an 8 out of 10. The side plot of Zubal's body dysmorphia, the main story, the animation, everything about this episode was fantastic. There wasn't anything about this episode I particularly disliked. I'm sure there were definitely flaws within the episode, but I'm not doing a deep dive, I'm just watching it while taking notes. As for my character rankings, Pomni is at a 5 out of 10. She's still pretty boring, which is to be expected. She's such a bland character that she almost feels like a self-insert in a way. I have a feeling my thoughts about Pomni will plateau and stay consistent. Ragatha is at a 7 out of 10. We didn't see too much of her this episode, so it was pretty hard for my opinion to improve, or vice versa. Kinger is at a 7 out of 10. I'm really glad my previous assumptions about him were wrong. He's funny and seems to have an important role in the circus, so he's been bumped up. Jax is at a 1 out of 10. I hate him. Zubul is at a 4 out of 10. It was really nice to see a more vulnerable side of them, but since this episode didn't really focus on them strictly, rather just an issue they've been struggling with, it was hard to think of them any higher. I do like that Zubul's appearance changes every episode. This is something I only noticed during this episode, but it is a really nice detail. Gangle is at a 3 out of 10. Again, we didn't see much of her, so it's hard for my opinion to change. But my opinion very well may change during episode 4, Fast Food Masquerade.
Some ideas. That was weird.
The episode starts out with Ragatha teaching Gangle how to do an underthrow or something. So Gangle throws the ball, and Jax hits it and breaks her comedy mask. Jax said it was an accident that time, and he and Ragatha begin to argue. During this, Zubul invites Gangle to come into their room because they found something they might like. Zubul digs through their box of parts and pulls out a mask made of plastic for Gangle and insists she tries it on. So she does, to which she says it feels normal and that she likes it. Immediately, I like this mask on Gangle compared to the mask she typically wears. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I think it's just because she looks better with pupils. I also really like the star and swirly thing on her cheeks. It gives her a bit more color, and the yellow really complements the red and pink. Cain then calls the crew to talk about his newest adventure, The Curse of the Violent Psychopath Butcher, which Pomni immediately asks to do something else and to chill with the horror. Which, like, yeah, she's had a rough couple of adventures. Doing something laid back and relaxing would probably do her some good. Zubul then tells Cain to check the suggestion box for a different adventure. So Cain digs through the suggestion box and names off a few adventures before landing on the one where they all work at a fast food restaurant. So the adventure changes to an honest hard day's work at Spudsy's restaurant chain, with Gangle being assigned shift manager. Zooble attempts to opt out of the adventure again before Kinger suggests sitting out instead of Zooble, which is very deserved and fair because Kinger was in literal hell last episode. I think Zooble could handle working a McDonald's shift. So to Spudsy's they go, and Jax is immediately being a bitch. I hate Jax. But you know who I hate more than Jax? A narc. Gangle just narcs on Jax to Kane, and then she has the audacity to say this.
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons! Anyway.
The circus crew begins their breakfast shift at Spudsy's, and it goes down how any normal fast food restaurant shift goes. An NPC shows up to the counter and orders the stupid burger, and makes sure to emphasize that they really want the stupid sauce on the stupid burger because they forgot it. So Ragatha, who's on assembly duty, preps the stupid burger and squirts some of that sauce in her eye, which makes her, hallucinate a horrifying Gangle before geeking out. Pomni, who's on the register, ends up meeting Gummy Goo again. I got really excited. I love Gummy Goo. This does cause Pomni to kind of freak out a little, reasonably so, and she gets a little creepy with him, following him around. This seems justifiable to us, but in Gummy Goo's eyes, this is just a complete stranger who knows his name and is following him around and being weird. Then it's lunchtime. Hooray! When I worked in fast food, I always dreaded lunch rush. It was always so much worse than dinner rush. The place I worked at was right across the street from a high school, so it'd get very busy during lunch and in the early afternoon, as well as after concerts or sporting events. So not much really happens throughout the episode that's notable. It's a very silly and lighthearted episode of the crew working at a fast food place, but Gangle is constantly disrespected as their manager. My coworker, who was also my friend, got promoted to manager, and because of this, she was constantly belittled and not really listened to, and it really bugged her. Gangle ends up kind of having enough of Jax and sends him to the back for more training, which the training video is very, it says a lot about her character, it's very projecting. I'm assuming Gangle worked in fast food as a manager during college and was pursuing art as a career before needing to drop it and focus on her job as a manager. It's also safe to assume her parents didn't encourage this art path and wanted to do something else, which is why she mentions having dreams is cool, but they're totally unrealistic. Again, not a lot happens during this episode, but during dinner, Gangle takes a step outside to take off the happy mask she's been wearing to reveal a very tired and exhausting face. So the whole mask thing with Gangle is really interesting to me. I wonder if maybe Gangle is autistic and the whole thing with her mask is her quite literally masking, which is a very tiring and real thing that autistic people have to do to not be ostracized by society. If not autism, then I was thinking some sort of mood disorder like bipolar or borderline, but I haven't really seen much to back up this claim, more so just the two masks being happy and sad and those reflecting how she acts. Anyways, Ragatha, Zooble, and Pomni close up the kitchen before Pomni offers to close up the store for the night, seeing Gangle really needs the time off. After clocking out, Gangle throws the happy mask away and runs out onto the sidewalk. The visuals are fantastic and it really is a wonderful scene, but she ends up getting hit by a truck at the end of it. I'm so confused. I don't know if this is alluding to a possible suicide attempt in the past or current suicidal ideation, but it was so random. I'm pretty sure it'll be important later on, but right now I can't really decipher what it could be referring to. After returning to the circus, Gangle is sitting alone from everyone and sketching. Zooble comes up to check on her, and she expresses how she's worried everyone hates her now and doesn't want to talk to her, and the adventure was her idea, and blah blah blah. Zooble successfully comforts her, and they walk back to the group before the outro plays. This was a really fun and relatable episode for many people. I liked this one a lot. Again, the animation quality improved greatly, which is something you can tell specifically through Bubble. That's just how I like to see the animation improvement. I can just see how much better Bubble looks compared to episode 1. There were a few moments that got a chuckle out of me, and the ending with Zooble and Gangle was really sweet. Although this episode almost felt like filler, it didn't seem to add much to the plot. I understand it was an episode designed around Gangle and her own character progression, but I feel like doing it in a fast food setting seemed a little random. I did like that they put a typically submissive and doormat character in a position of power and authority. That's something very important to a doormat's character development. I don't think it landed very well with the fast food aspect though. I know the fast food manager thing is a very important part of Gangle's character, but I wonder if this could have been done in a different way or a better way. I'd give this episode a 7 out of 10. It was a very nice and laid-back episode, and I always like to see characters who don't typically go through normal things go through a normal situation. My character rankings at the moment: Pomni is at a 5 out of 10, Ragatha is at a 7 out of 10, Kinger is at a 7 out of 10, Jax is at a 1 out of 10, I hate him. Zooble is at a 5 out of 10. I hope the show expands on their relationship with Gangle a little more. I think it's really sweet that there is a soft spot for her. And Gangle is at a 5 out of 10. This episode didn't really make me like her more, but I'm a bit more aware of her character and situation now beyond shy ooh-woo girl. Now, with my opinions of Zooble and Gangle changed, let's move on to episode 5.
Sorry, Jax, democracy has spoken.
Democracy sucks.
The episode starts out with everyone except for Zooble, of course, returning from an adventure. They all seem exhausted and wet. Also, Gangle puts her broken mask together just to wave and smile at Zooble, and I thought that was really cute. After the circus members go off to do their own thing, Kane summons them back once again for advice on future adventures he had planned, to which each one is a movie reference, I'm pretty sure. The first one is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but I'm not sure what the other two are. Maybe Fallout and A Boy and His Dog or something like that. After the adventures get not so great feedback, Zooble suggests using the suggestion box again. They liked how the last adventure was grounded in reality, and Pomni agrees. Not everyone else though, but Jax is part of that everyone else, so I don't care what they have to say. Since everyone wants different things, Kane declares they do a lightning round. They go through a multitude of adventures, and when they want to move on to the next one, they can hold a vote to skip it. So not much happens during this section of the episode, it's mostly just for funnies. They're in a safari-like game, then Pomni is president, and then they're in an anime. I like the anime one, that was awesome. And then we go to a field where they stargaze and just kinda relax. The members are all having a nice nighttime picnic under the stars, while Pomni and Jax lay down and stare up at the sky. They chat a little bit, and Ragatha comes over while Jax is kinda being rude about Gangle. He's all like, oh, do you think Gangle is actually capable of being happy? And does she think hanging around Zooble will make her happy? Yeah, probably. Ragatha then defends her, saying that she probably doesn't want to be around someone who's mean to her all the time. Pomni then asks if Jax has any friends, which made me audibly laugh because that implies that Pomni doesn't see him as a friend. Ragatha then quietly whispers,
Not anymore.
Before he angrily and slowly turns to her with an unreadable expression. It was a mix of anger and hurt and shock. Ragatha scrambles off after fumbling an apology because I think she met herself, but I assume Jax took it as a friend who had previously abstracted. I have a little theory in mind that Ragatha and Jax used to be close, but then something happened, presumably an abstraction that caused them to drift apart. During their friendship, maybe Jax opened up about his life in the real world, and maybe he lost some friends due to shitty behavior, or maybe even through death. Anyways, Jax makes some really good points about Ragatha, how if you keep telling people how awesome and loved they are, the words begin to lose authenticity and meaning. A little more of the conversation continues before Kane panics. He's noticing that they're enjoying the suggestion box adventures more than the adventures he makes, which further proves that my theory that Kane is an AI. We then get this cool Cartoon Network animation intermission. It was really visually pleasing to the eye, and I imagine if they have the same BPM, if I put Cartoon Network intermission music over the animation, you wouldn't even be able to tell it wasn't made at CNHQ. After the intermission, we get this really cool bar scene. I really like the lighting and the color choices used here. Other than the scenes of them bantering and drinking, we get some background on the characters. Pomni used to be an accountant for a supermarket chain, and she would do urban exploring as a hobby, which is how she ended up in the circus. I imagine that she came across an abandoned building office and found the headset. At this point, I'm assuming the company that made the digital circus game is CNA, and I'm sticking to it. Zooble says they used to be a bartender and a tattoo artist for a little while, which Jax laughs at. I'm assuming that's a jab at Zooble being queer or trans, but I could absolutely just be missing the joke. Something I noticed though is that while Jax is talking about his past or whatever, he's making a Breaking Bad reference. Zooble then calls it out before Ragatha says,
Was that a reference to something?
that implies Ragatha hasn't seen Breaking Bad, so there's a high chance before Breaking Bad came out. Anyways, Gangle used to work in fast food, which we already know, but she actually went to college for graphic design before dropping out. Ragatha used to work in real estate. She mentions her mother was abusive and she kinda trauma dumped a little, which kinda ruined the mood, but it's okay. You can do anything you want, all is forgiven, queen. I would imagine maybe Ragatha was looking at an abandoned building to renovate and sell before finding the computer and putting on the headset. That just makes the most sense to me. Anyways, Jax starts being awfully buddy-buddy with Pomni suddenly to seemingly get under Ragatha's skin and bringing up her behavior from the previous episode and how she was dismissing Gangle. I really want to know what happened between these two. I wonder if they dated briefly or maybe they're even siblings. It seems like a stretch, but I'm nosy and I want to know. Disappearing Guy's cool. Love Disappearing Guy. The bar segment is over now and we get this little softball game as a closer. They play against evil versions of themselves, which I think is supposed to be a reference to those Benji X Scarlet songs, but I can't be too certain. Disappearing Guy makes a comeback. Love to see it. So they play the game and yada yada yada. Jax gets put in a maid dress. Cool. Ragatha ends up getting out during her time of playing, and she kind of begins to put herself down a little before continuing with this toxic positivity mindset. Pomni says that it's okay for her to show her negative emotions sometimes. So when Jax sits on the bench, she gets into an argument with him, and Pomni immediately tries to break it up, and Ragatha kind of snaps at her, which lashing out at Pomni is unnecessary, but Pomni literally just said that it's okay to be a jerk sometimes, and it's okay to lash out, and now Pomni is shutting it down. Anyways, Ragatha quickly composes herself and apologizes to Pomni for lashing out and apologizes to Jax for what she said during the stargazing picnic. Gangle ends up hitting a home run and thanks Ragatha for her instructions earlier, which I think is a callback to the previous episode where they were practicing throwing softballs. Pomni offers Ragatha her turn to bat for a second chance, and she doesn't even do anything, but they win the game and everyone, cheers her on. Hooray, that's the end of that. They make their way back to the circus tent, and Pomni and Jax go off to do their own thing, and Ragatha just kind of hangs back and watches before walking away. We then get this very ominous and cryptic ending of an NPC standing behind a wall watching them before the outro plays. This was an alright episode. I enjoyed it a lot. I liked that we got some more exposition on the characters' lives before the circus, and I also think the humor was a bit more my style this episode compared to previous ones. The plot was okay, I suppose. Normally I would prefer it if they stuck to just one thing rather than doing a multitude of things, but I think the idea was executed in a way that was well paced and watchable. There wasn't anything I really disliked about the episode. I wish we got some more background during the bar scene, but maybe we'll get some more of that in later episodes. If I had to rate it, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It was a really nice change of pace from its usual shenanigans. As for my character rankings, Pomni is at a 6 out of 10. She seemed a little bit more laid back and relaxed this episode, probably because they weren't in like literal hell. So she just came off as a little bit more likable than before. Ragatha is at a 7 out of 10. Kinger is at a 7 out of 10. Jax is at a 2 out of 10. He wasn't unbearable this episode compared to previous ones, but I still hate him. Zubul is at a 5 out of 10, and Gangle is at a 5 out of 10. The episodes are getting a little longer at this point, so my summaries will be a bit except for the important or fun parts. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's move on to episode 6, They All Get Guns.
Here's guns and have fun?
I didn't say have fun.
It's just a little aimless.
Use the sights.
This episode is brought to us by the Favorite Character Awards. We begin with a scene of Jax and Pomni talking to Zubul, who's hiding from Kane since they overheard him talking about an in-house adventure. I know I shit on Jax, but I do like this little budding relationship he has with Pomni. Anyways, after Jax narks on where Zubul is, Kane explains that today's adventure isn't quite an adventure, but rather a little Olympics game thing he's holding for the Character Awards. After some disagreeing, because who the hell would want to team up with Jax for anything ever, Kane instead decides to do some trust exercises between the cast. Also, I really hate the situationship thing going on between Pomni and Ragatha. I hate how awkward it is now, and it was perfectly fine before. I know it's important to the plot and Ragatha's character, but it still upsets me because Ragatha was like kind of the first person to be a genuine friend to Pomni. Kane comes up with this whole idea where you go into an empty room with a loaded gun and hand it to a different person, and they need to trust that the gun isn't fully loaded. This would probably be a legal social experiment in like 1950 or something, and I would absolutely conduct it if I were an evil scientist. Anyways, Jax is handed the gun and just shoots Ragatha, so now they're playing Fortnite duos. Everyone pairs up and Pomni offers to be on Ragatha's team, but she doesn't want Kinger and Jax to be paired together, so she declines before like flip-flopping. She's incredibly hesitant for Pomni to be with Jax before spewing some like 988 shit. Right after the game begins and everyone scatters, Kane looks at some Polaroids of an office, the same office that was behind the exit doors in the first episode. Kinger and Ragatha end up finding a pistol in the hallway while Ragatha is complaining about her missing heart when Jax had shot her earlier. Kinger just conjures up a butterfly and it can restore health, and he says he made it up? Yeah, okay. I'm taking this as like, you can manifest anything in the circus, be that an exit door or a butterfly, and Kinger clearly knows this. So, using this theory and applying it to episode 4, Zubul manifested a mask for Gangle. Pomni manifested an exit door in episode 1. It might be a little far-fetched, but that's what I was originally thinking when I was watching the episode for the first time. This also applies to Jax and Pomni's conversation while they're searching for guns. Jax fucking manifests a line of cans for Pomni to practice shooting, because I don't see why that would just be in the hall. During this conversation, he makes some very valid points. The game of the day is to shoot each other, so why take everything so seriously and realistically? Basically saying we're in a cartoon, so cartoon logic applies. He also kind of empathizes with Pomni a little bit, talking about how she's still clinging onto that part of herself that's in the human world when she's a cartoon clown actively. This is the part of Jax that I really enjoyed seeing. I still hate him, but I don't hate him as much in this moment. Pomni made me cringe really bad, though I hated this part.
Pomni the Evil!
It's kind of cringe.
Anyways, their gun-filled hijinks ensue and we get some silly moments and banters. While Jax is pursuing Ragatha, having her lose 2 lives in the process, she quickly shouts how she knows what Jax is doing by trying to corrupt Pomni. He ignores this sentiment and Ragatha sticks her finger in the barrel of the gun and it does that Looney Tunes thing. This made Jax really mad and he shoots Ragatha in the face like 6 times, causing her to go in the loser corner, which has a really nice ambiance and a little fish tank to watch. I don't know what nerve Ragatha could have possibly struck, but she definitely hit one. Gangle and Zubul have a nice moment too. Gangle is upset that she rejected Jax's team offer and is worried that she may have upset him by that. She expresses that she has a hard time accepting herself for the part that nobody likes. I think it's more so talking about her personal issues rather than the mask thing. I think my assumption of autism was wrong, and it may be closer to something like bipolar instead. It is a really sweet and cute moment between the two though. Pomni and Jax also have this moment of bonding where they're discussing phobias and fears, which is really sweet. I do like their dynamic. They end up finding Kinger and having this cool moment of shooting each other. Kinger ends up accidentally shooting himself and ends up in the loser corner with Ragatha. He notices Ragatha is upset, and since it's dark in the loser area, he becomes more aware, and they have a nice little moment. Ragatha finally cracks under the pressure and breaks down, talking about how she feels like she failed Pomni the same way she failed Jax. She feels like she tried too hard to be friendly, and now they both aren't very fond of her. Kinger is a fantastic listener, and he does a great job expressing empathy. Given that he's like 50 or something, it makes perfect sense. He has the real-world experience and maturity to offer that kind of support, and it was wonderful to see. Pomni and Jax end up both getting Gangle and Zooble out, leaving the two of them as the winners. There was also this, and I hated it.
Well, shit, man. Guess that's the end of that. See you on the flip side.
Pomni continues to play into the evil persona she's been putting on for the game, and instead of playing along, Jax keeps pushing this whole nothing matters, stop caring narrative, while Pomni is still trying to hold on to empathy and human connection. It kind of reframes Jax a little bit, because instead of just being annoying for the sake of it, he starts coming off as someone who is emotionally detached from everyone as a coping mechanism. A little off topic, but I'm noticing in the first episode, Jax spoke more through his teeth because he's, his mouth is a toothy grin. That was something I really did like about Jax's character. Small details like that are really nice to see. After the first episode though, he just talks normally. I would assume it's just because it's a little difficult for the voice actor to constantly speak through his teeth, so he stopped, but maybe I'm overthinking it. So yeah, this scene kind of speaks for itself, how Jax chooses to mask his anger and hurt behind avoidance and playfulness. He treats everything like a joke and his personal entertainment, because I would imagine he did care about people in a genuine manner when he was friends with Ragatha, but as time went on, it became too much to bear, so he chose escapism instead of a healthy way of coping with this awful situation. I still hate him though because of this.
You are my playthings, and I get joy out of making you suffer. I'm the one who causes pain for fun!
After the argument ends, we cut to the award ceremony that Kane was talking about earlier, but we immediately go to Jax, who ran off to the bathroom to have what looks like an anxiety attack. I would assume this is what pre-abstraction looks like. If I'm wrong, then I'm completely and utterly embarrassed. Also, Disappearing Guy makes a comeback. Love to see it. The character awards go on, and the outro plays. This was a pretty solid episode despite being focused around my least favorite character. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It had some really good character exposition, and the adventure was fun to watch, even though this episode had the most moments that made me cringe. It was also a fantastic setup episode for future conflict. I don't have any criticisms. This was a very enjoyable episode. As for my character rankings, Pomni is at a 7 out of 10. She hasn't changed much, but she very much is growing on me as the main character. Ragatha is at a 7 out of 10. Kinger is at an 8 out of 10. Jax is at a very surprising 4 out of 10. Even though I got some explanation as to why Jax acts the way he does, now knowing why he's purposely abrasive doesn't make him any more enjoyable to watch. Zooble is at a 5 out of 10, and Gangle is at a 5 out of 10. I am quite hooked now, so I am looking forward to episode 7, Beach episode.
You should throw a freaking beach party.
Good boy.
The episode begins with Pomni, Ragatha, and Gangle asking Zooble if they've seen Kane, since nobody has seen him yet today. After Kane appears, he explains that he doesn't have an adventure planned for today, so the members are good to do whatever they'd like. So with Kane's very valued input, they decide to throw a beach party at the lake. Also, there's this joke regarding the Chinese room. When I first watched the episode, I didn't know what the Chinese room was, so the joke went over my head, but even after looking it up, I still don't understand it. I mean, I kinda do, but not really. Kinger got the joke though, because he studied computer science, so that was cool. Anyways, they have a nice little segment at the beach of lounging around and playing ball and swimming. Also, Jax and Zooble bicker a little bit, and after Jax takes a jab at their body dysmorphia, they just explain that they've come to terms with it off screen. That's cool, I didn't know something like that could be solved so easily. Jax leaves the beach and goes back to his room, where we finally get a glimpse of his personal space. His room is like a little girl's room with pink and flowers and rainbows. It's funny but fitting, cause he's a purple bunny with pink overalls. The room absolutely fits his physical appearance. There are photographs of him with Kaufmo and another character named Ribbit, which confirms that Jax actually did have close relationships with people before everything went downhill. During this part of the episode, the video quality itself tanks, and I did think that my connection was really bad, but I thought that was a really cool detail to add. Jax reaches out to a triangular void with a green hand reaching out to him before we quickly transition into this trippy fractal space. He's also naked. This scene goes on for a very long time, like 3 minutes. Anyways, his doorbell rings, which snaps him out of the trance, and based off his eyes, he was actively abstracting. We were so close to the best day ever. Anyways, his doorbell rings, which snaps him out of the trance, and Pomni, Ragatha, and a mannequin NPC are at his door. The NPC is claiming that he's actually a human that slipped past Kane and knows a way out of the circus. Jax is skeptical of this, but everyone except for Kinger meets in the Chinese room to discuss the plan on how to escape. During this, we learn that the name of the NPC is Abel. Haha, like Cain and Abel from the Bible. Haha, do you guys get it? He explains that he used to be a developer for the circus, but once he began asking too many questions, he got hooked up to the headset and stasis pods and was sent to the circus. We also get confirmation that Cain is an AI. Who saw that coming? So, through some epic heist skills and vor jokes, everyone gets access to Cain's office while he's preoccupied doing something, I don't know. I think it's important to note that while Jax was getting the office key from Kane, he was looking at these office photos again and talking about them, saying how he wants to recreate it, but he can't since he doesn't have enough information on the place other than images. Anyways, Abel is reluctant to let Kinger know about what's going on because he says he isn't ready to face him. He says they've both done things that they aren't proud of, but despite this, Gangle and Zubul inform him of what's going on, while Pomni, Ragatha, and Abel get administrator passes. Once they get the passes, Kinger realizes something in his pillow fort. He attempts to warn Pomni about something before leaving the fort and therefore leaving the darkness, so he forgets what he was going to say. Also, Jax is like really hesitant to leave the circus. It's implied that he doesn't have anyone on the outside of the circus and that he kind of likes it here. I mean, he definitely comes off as the type to enjoy living in a cartoon world. Who wouldn't, right? I don't know, I don't have any thoughts about it, but I'm definitely thinking about it. They make their way to Kane's office before Abel makes an ominous statement to make the right choice. Kane's office is actually really cool. There are adventures they've gone on in the past in fortune-telling looking orbs, and Jax is strangely drawn to a specific one, which is an adventure that takes place on a snowy mountain. They approach the terminal to leave the circus, and there are two buttons to press. Either press the red button to stay, or press the blue one to leave. Pomni is about to press the blue button but hesitates, wondering if it's a trick or some sort of trap. She asks Kinger to make the choice, but given that he's not fully here yet, Zubul objects and it starts a small disagreement between everyone. And during this disagreement, Jax is incredibly quiet and nervous looking. His breathing is hitched and he's hunched over. His body language is screaming that he's not feeling great. During this fit of terror, we get some flashes of the real world through Jax's eyes, which made me feel gross. I hate mixed media. I hate seeing live action bits in a show that's fully animated. It's just so unsettling to me. Maybe it's an uncanny valley thing, I don't know. Anyways, Jax absolutely breaks and runs to the buttons and slams his fist down on the red one. They all stand there for a moment after realizing what Jax had just done to all of them. He briefly attempts to explain before it's revealed that the entire thing was an adventure fabricated by Kane. Abel was an NPC designed by him, the stasis pods, CNA, it was all fake. So Jax starts howling in laughter at this revelation. He snaps at Kane, calling him out for getting in his head and confirming that Kane has control over their minds and memories. So the entire time, Kane was adding things and changing memories to make the adventures more interesting. Circus crew is obviously not very happy about this. Kinger then suddenly mentions a person named Scratch, who was the first person in the circus to ever abstract. I'm not sure why that suddenly came to mind, but whatever. The episode ends with the circus members standing there in a mix of shock and astonishment before the outro plays. I'm probably gonna get bashed for this, but I didn't really like this episode very much. He absolutely got some very important information that will be relevant later on, but given that almost everything we were told was based on a lie, was utterly disappointing. The only thing that we got confirmed true during this episode was that Kane can control the members' minds, and we also got the name of the first abstracted person in the circus, which was neat, but it doesn't feel all that important since we don't know who Scratch is. I did quite like that we got more character exposition with Jax. I already knew there was a lot more to him than a sarcastic, sexy Tumblr man bait 4000, but it was nice to be actively established rather than implicit. Honestly, I'd rate this episode a 6 out of 10. It was a good episode and it was a fantastic way to build up to the finale, but knowing that the entire episode was based on a lie, it was incredibly disappointing. I know that that was the point, and I'm not too sure if I'm communicating my grievances in an understanding way, but shut up, I know what I mean, and that's all that matters. As for my character rankings, Pomni is at a steady 7 out of 10, Ragatha is at a 7 out of 10, Kinger is at a 9 out of 10, Jax is at a very generous 6 out of 10. I believe they're attempting to make Jax the antagonist of the show, maybe in some twist he does work for CNA or something, but he's growing on me just a little bit. I still hate him though. Zubul is at a 6 out of 10, and Gangle is at a 6 out of 10. And with that, let's move on to the 8th and most recent episode.
One to me, but you're too blind to see that I'm the one who's running the show!
The episode starts out with 2.5 minutes of this. I have no idea what it's supposed to be. It's obviously some computer tech stuff that I don't understand one bit. The ending of that sequence shows the circus tent being built around a red circle, so that red circle could represent Kane. It could also possibly reference to something, but I seriously doubt it. Anyways, now we're in a flashback at the beginning of the circus, like the very beginning. We see Kinger and some other members that we don't recognize. Kinger is sitting alone on the stage before another chess piece, a queen, approaches him, and they chat a little before they both come to the realization that they know each other. It's never explicitly said, but I'm almost certain that this is supposed to be his wife that abstracted. I thought that they got married while they were in the circus, but I guess not. Given that she was an entomologist, I'm not sure how she ended up in the circus, but I guess Kinger roped her into it somehow. Anyways, we get a sudden cut as we watch her descend into the cellar, leaving Kinger all alone. And he seems to be alone for a great while before we see Ragatha join the circus in a similar fashion that Pomni did. Kinger asks for her name, which she doesn't remember, as expected, before we cut back to the present. There are some things I want to note before continuing. While Kinger is talking with his wife, whose name is Queenie, he says that they've never designed anything like this during programming, so I would imagine maybe Kane's creativeness got out of hand, showing how truly advanced he is as an AI. Also, when Ragatha appears, she says, "Guys," so she wasn't alone when she entered the circus. So I think that would mean my theory about her scouting out an abandoned CNA building to sell was incorrect. I'm not sure who she could be referring to though. And finally, when Kane appears to meet Ragatha, he says, "So it is possible," and I was hoping new minds could enter the circus. I don't have much feedback on that, but I would imagine it's significant to keep in mind for later. Anyways, jumping back to the present, everyone is sitting in the lounge area before Jax begins to say, "I told you so," which immediately stirs up an argument between him and Zubul before Gangle agrees with Jax. During the argument, Jax was making good points, saying that they could hypothesize all day about what could have happened, but since it was all a lie, it doesn't matter. So arguing about it is pointless. Pomni then says it's probably the best idea to leave the idea of escaping the circus behind. They got their hopes up and they were disappointed and shut down because of it. We then cut to Kane in his office where he's trying to figure out what went wrong with the adventure. He expresses to Bubble that he gave them an adventure where they got an exit, answers, something grounded in reality, which were all things they asked for and they still hated it. He does things to appeal to them by stepping out of his comfort zone and listening, and they're not happy with what Kane does. So I'm beginning to see the problem with Kane. He really does only think about his adventures because that's what he's programmed to do. He doesn't understand that the circus members actually want to leave. I'm kind of angry at myself for sympathizing with an AI rather than a real person like Jax, who I still hate with a passion, but yeah, this really sucks on Kane's end. He explains that the bodies they have are things that perfectly encapsulate their mind files, so each of their designs perfectly reflect their internal everything. Like, Zubul is this abstract humanoid piece of art thing because of their dysmorphia. Maybe Pomni is a clown because she's never taken seriously, and that's a part of herself she hates. Maybe Ragatha is a doll because she's used to being treated like one by her mother. Maybe she was groomed to act and look a certain way, kind of the way that people do with dolls. This is purely speculation, but I think I'm onto something. Anyways, during this bit of Kane talking to Bubble, he begins to, glitch and bug out, almost. He's acting very out of character. He also says, "You really were the lesser of the two. You ruined this." Which leads me to believe that maybe Kane is just a second generation of the first AI they were programming at CNA, just a more toned down version or something similar. Kane ends up completely glitching out and losing his cool. I kind of thought Kane was going to abstract during this part of the episode, but I was incorrect. And applying this to Jax, I do still imagine that this is what pre-abstraction looks like. Kane quickly calms down and goes to the others to announce today's adventure, which is shut down immediately by Zubul, who demands answers to all of their questions. He's pretty dismissive about it and tries to push them to go on the adventure before Pomni jumps in and also says that they're not in the mood and they need some time. He doesn't take that very well, and he begins to express how he believes he doesn't think that the members fully appreciate what he does for them, including how much time he puts into his adventures. We then get this musical number. It wasn't a bad song, it was catchy, and Kane's voice actor did a great job singing. The visuals were also fantastic, but I didn't expect a musical number, and I'll probably never go out of my way to listen to it again. During the song, we also get the clearest reference to "I have no mouth and must scream." There's a bunch of references to it, but I've never read the story or played the game. I'm pretty sure there's a game at least. So I didn't understand any of the references to it except for this one. I think the entire point of the musical number is to really get across how powerful Kane is, and referring back to Zubul in episode 4, the only thing stopping Kane from hurting them is that he likes them. Once the song ends, they all go on multiple adventures lasting several days. They're all exhausted and expressing how they're losing their minds with these new adventures Kane is putting them through. Since they all get a break from the adventures, they choose to go upstairs at a little cafe to try and relax a little bit. During this moment of relaxation, Pomni sees a bucket and gets the idea to put it on Kinger's head in order to make him sane. Everyone else except for Ragatha is confused, but either way, they wait and wait and wait, and eventually Kinger comes to, and Pomni asks him about Kane. We then finally get confirmation that CNA is a real company, and Kinger did in fact work for that company. And I'm starting to believe that Abel wasn't an NPC. The company developed artificial intelligence, not just games, so the idea of how the circus came to be is a mystery. He was a very brilliant and creative developer of Kane, and he had a tumor in his head. Tumors can either be cancerous and lethal or just balls of fat, so based on the information I know thus far, I would imagine Scratch may have made the circus as a way to stay alive. The tumor was probably cancerous, and that led to him abstracting, which this theory makes me further believe that abstraction is the act of a person dying. Jax quickly runs off with the excuse to go distract Kane, and he panics on the stairwell a little bit before saying this is real. I'm not a person too big on shipping, at all. I think it's pointless and it doesn't add much to anything. You can ship whatever the hell you want and people make a way bigger deal about it than it needs to be. But during the entirety of this series, I was low-key shipping Pomni and Ragatha together, but now Jax and Pomni are really growing on me. They really do have a cute dynamic together and they bounce off of one another really well in recreational settings. And it's also abundantly clear that even though Jax is mean to Pomni and knocks her down and teases her, she does genuinely care about him regardless.
It's not like I like him or anything, though.
Pomni asks Kinger if there's a way to control Kane or maybe shut him off temporarily since he's going bananas right now. Kinger says he can maybe alter Kane's code if we get his hands on a computer, and Pomni knows exactly where to get one. Also, Kinger mentions that they have the ability to make things up just like Kane, but it takes more skill and patience with them as opposed to Kane, who literally can just do it since that's part of his coding. So using her imagination power, she conjures up the same exit door from episode 1 and begins to walk through the plethora of offices and hallways while everyone besides Kinger distracts Kane so he doesn't get an idea of what's going on. Also, this scene right here, Kane's line delivery.
Hey, Kane!
Yep.
This was the first time I got an audible laugh out of this show. It's just so good. So, while the members are distracting Kane, Pomni successfully finds the computer and takes it over to Kinger, where he boots it up and begins working. Pomni meets up with the others to continue keeping Kane occupied, but Kane quickly catches on to what's happening. Just as he's about to go check up on Kinger, Pomni quickly begins to criticize him and belittle his adventures, which absolutely catches his attention. Everyone begins to catch on and gives him their own 2 cents, which causes Kane to flip out again, but 10 times worse than before, and puts them all through their personal hell. I want to dissect this part a little bit. Obviously, this represents each person's inner struggle, but I also noticed that it reflects what they said to Kane. Pomni says to him, "You don't listen," and he does, because in her segment he used gummy goo as a way to torture her, because he knows how much he meant to her. Ragatha says, "You never make us feel like we're at home," so he shows her exactly what it's like to be at home by having dinner with her mother. Gangle says, "You discourage us from thinking outside the box and doing things our own way. Look at what happened when you tried to do things your own way." Jax says, "You lie to us constantly," but he's in a personal struggle with lying about his feelings and hiding his true intentions behind things. And Zubul says, "What kind of all-powerful being has such a fragile ego?" Meanwhile, this scene with all the members experiencing things that personally troubles them is actually really cool and gives us more depth on things and confirms things about the characters. I think there's a chance Ragatha could be blind in her right eye after a fight with her mother, and maybe the gag of her getting stabbed and hurt so often isn't just a gag, but it could be a reflection of possible physical abuse she experienced as well, in addition to the verbal abuse. I was originally disappointed that the segment with Pomni was about gummy goo and nothing else in her life, but then again, Pomni never talked about her issues, so Kane worked with what he had. I did also want to note that Jax's part, the 3 silhouettes of the people laughing at him, are Kaufmo, Pomni, and Ribbit. He labeled himself as the funny one in episode 6, and I'm assuming keeping up that front is eating away at him, which is why that's part of his personal hell. But this part was incredibly well done, and the music paired with it makes the whole experience a lot better. I did not, however, like seeing Jax get skinned, so that was cool. While all of this is happening, Kinger is working really hard to get deep into the circus coding to fix Kane. I was looking through some of the coding on the computer, and it does say that Ragatha joined the circus in 2008, so that was really nice to learn. In the midst of rapidly attempting to fix Kane's mind, Kinger accidentally clicks the delete button, which results in a very sudden shift of atmosphere. He also swears for the first time, I'm pretty sure, maybe the second. I'm gonna be vulnerable here for a moment. It was kinda hot. Now that Kane has been deleted, the structure of the circus immediately begins to shake and the color drains. Kinger mentioned that the circus is something Kane built, so with Kane now gone, there's not much to uphold the circus other than what I would assume is basic programming. Kinger makes his way to the others before informing them of what he just did.
I think I accidentally killed Kane.
Holy shit.
So that's the end of the Amazing Digital Circus so far. This was a great episode. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I really liked seeing Kane snap. It was cringe when he did the whole I am God thing, bro is not Sonic.exe. I do like that Kinger also had a very significant part to play in this episode. My only critiques with this episode is that it felt very fast-paced. Don't get me wrong, the other episodes are a little fast-paced as well, but I feel like this episode could have been a lot longer, especially with the cruciality of this episode being built up for the finale, which is coming out in like a month. I'm also not too big on how they wrote Kane in this episode. It was less of an AI hurting people because it doesn't understand humans, and more of an unredeemable god complex villain. So here are my final character rankings. Pomni is at a 7 out of 10. Ragatha is at an 8 out of 10. The personal hell she went through really made me like the button eye just a little bit more, and it's also the one that I can personally relate to the most, and the one that I found the most visually pleasing and horrifying. Kinger is at a 9 out of 10, Jax is at a 6 out of 10, Zooble is at a 6 out of 10, and Gangle is at a 6 out of 10. I do really wish that we got more exposition with Zooble and Gangle. I feel like my opinions of them would be far better and more complex if we did. So as promised, I'll rank each episode before getting into my final thoughts. But before I do that, what I rated them out of 10 earlier does not affect where they should be in this final rating, okay? Okay. In 8th place, we have episode 2, Candy Carrier Chaos. It didn't really give us much for the story except for the character exploration and some foreshadowing on Kinger's thing with the dark for episode 3. In 7th place, we have episode 1, Pilot. It's a very solid first episode, and it does a great job at getting viewers hooked and explaining the plot as well as some more foreshadowing. An example of this is when Kane says he doesn't have control over their minds, but he does in fact have control over their minds. In 6th place, we have episode 4, Fast Food Masquerade. It was a good episode, and I liked learning more about Gangle and their thing with masking, but the episode itself just wasn't my thing. In 5th place, we have episode 6, They Get Guns. I think this is mostly because it was a Jax episode, and if you don't know, I hate Jax. The plot wasn't too interesting to me, but I liked it a lot more than the other episodes I've mentioned. It could very well be because it was one of the longer episodes too. In 4th place, we have episode 7, Beach Episode. It was alright, I guess. I don't have much to say about it. In 3rd place, we have episode 5, Untitled. I really liked seeing the suggestion box adventures, and I also liked that we got some more character exposition than what we had before. It was just a very solid episode. In 2nd place, we have episode 8, Hudja Sackloadful. I think this was a great semi-final episode, and I did like that there were less jokes. It was a much more serious episode than I had anticipated, and that's why it's so high up. And in 1st place, we have episode 3, The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor. This is absolutely the best episode in my opinion. Kinger is my favorite character at the moment. Now knowing why he acts the way he does, his comedic bits feel less forced and actually funny. He's the funniest character in the show, and I will stand by that. I also really love his father-daughter relationship with Pomni, and we see that with Ragatha as well. The adventure plot just kept me hooked, and it was overall a wonderful episode. Going into this series, I did wholeheartedly expect to hate everything about it. Up until I had watched the show, I was going off what I had seen from the first episode, the clips I've seen on social media, and the fandom. Now, would I say that my opinion has changed? Yes, of course. Would I say that this is a bad show? No. Would I now consider myself a fan of the Amazing Digital Circus? Absolutely not. I expected every single character to be poorly written, one-dimensional, and stuck within their archetypes, the jokes to be incredibly unfunny, and a lot more moments that would make me cringe. Most of these assumptions were far out of the field. I liked that some of the characters were deeply explored, and a lot of the jokes relied on comedic timing, but there were some parts that did make me smile or laugh. The plot was still pretty boring to me. Again, I don't like the idea of being stuck in a game world, but in this case, it was really only the first episode and the last one that fully focuses on it. Everything else was character development, exploration, or fun, goofy adventures. The fandom surrounding the show is something I mentioned because I genuinely think the fandom damaged my perception of the actual series for a very long time. Before watching this, almost every interaction I had with the Amazing Digital Circus came from either content farms, weird shipping discourse, unfunny TikTok clips, or middle schoolers making big deals over the smallest things. So in my mind, I associated the show with being loud, obnoxious, and unfunny. And to be fair, some parts of the fandom absolutely are like that. Every form of media eventually develops a fan base that just makes you embarrassed to admit you even watched it. That's just kind of the natural life cycle of internet media. Take Hazbin Hotel, for example. I wasn't ever ashamed to admit that I liked it when it was just the pilot, but as I got older and saw the fandom of the show develop when season 1 came out, I refuse to say I even watched the pilot. That's a story for another time though. But after actually watching the show myself and judging it based on secondhand fandom content, I realized that the actual series is more sincere and, dare I say, emotionally intelligent than people give it credit for. A lot of the clips that blew up online are usually the most marketable or the most annoying moments taken out of context. Meanwhile, the actual show spends a lot of time focusing on loneliness, identity, grief, escapism, and people losing themselves in an environment of escape. I still absolutely understand why people get turned away by the fandom because, trust me, I get it. But I also think it's unfair to dismiss an entire series because of the loudest parts of its audience, especially when that large portion of audience is literally just kids. Cringe culture is so lame, and if middle schoolers making weird edits and arguing about ships is the worst thing to happen in a fandom, then nothing has changed since 2007. At the end of the day, the fandom isn't the show, and the show isn't the fandom. And I think finally separating those two things is what allowed me to actually enjoy this series instead of going into it determined to hate everything about it. Even if the fandom is known for its cringe aspects, the fandom is full of talented artists and wonderful people, as most fandoms are. I think what surprised me about this show is that there's actually a pretty solid story about isolation and coping. Again, the main story isn't something I'm into, but subplots are the main things drawing me in. Every character in the circus handles their situation differently, and I think that's where the show is at its strongest. Pomni desperately clings onto hope and normalcy, Ragatha suppresses literally every negative emotion ever, Zubul emotionally disconnects themselves from everybody around them, Gangle masks her feelings to make other people comfortable, and Jax acts like an asshole because if he pushes everybody away first, then losing them probably hurts less. Even Kane is coping in his own way. He's so desperate to fulfill his purpose and keep everybody entertained that he completely ignores how miserable everyone actually is. That's the main thing that eventually made me warm up to the series, not the adventures themselves, not the lore, but the characters. Once the show stopped feeling like, haha, look at this digital circus, and started focusing more on the people trapped inside of it, I got way more invested. I also think the show visually improves a lot as it goes on. The lighting, the animation, and cinematography do become incredibly impressive by the later episodes. Some scenes are beautiful to look at, and you can tell the team working on this series actually cares about what they're making. That being said, I still have issues with the show. The humor can be really hit or miss for me, and sometimes is painfully rooted in 2021 humor. There are moments where emotional scenes get interrupted by jokes that completely kill the tension, and there's definitely episodes that feel more like character filler than actual progression. And with Jax, I'm so conflicted about him, because on one hand, I think he's one of the more interesting characters conceptually, but on the other hand, I think there were multiple moments throughout the series where I genuinely wanted to kill him. I cannot stand this character archetype. So the show definitely isn't perfect, but I don't think it deserves to be written off as cringe kid content the way a lot of people treat it. There is a genuinely creative and sincere indie series here that clearly has a lot of passion behind it, and even though I've been shitting on the show for 3 years, I am very much looking forward to the conclusion of the series despite my previous thoughts.
Our story starts in the age of fairy tales, a place where normally you would think about Mickey Mouse, Donald, Goofy, all of our favorite Disney characters. Or maybe you would think about other fairy tales like Sleeping Beauty or Beauty and the Beast, or maybe Pocahontas. Okay, maybe we shouldn't think about Pocahontas, that movie's kind of racist, but that's besides the point. Either way, it starts in the age of fairy tale. In this world, light is provided by Kingdom Hearts, the heart of all worlds. It's really just a giant heart that, I guess, puts light across the entire universe. Kind of crazy when you think about it, like, do they have a sun there, or is it just this big ass heart? By the way, the light is protected by the Keyblade, a key that can unlock Kingdom Hearts. But eventually, people start fighting over it, and darkness is born in their hearts from the conflict. Darkness eventually spreads, turning people into these creatures called Heartless. During the conflict, the Keyblade shatters into 20 pieces, 7 of light, 13 of darkness. Now, if you recall in the first game, there's a really evil bitch named Maleficent, who is also evil in fairy tales too, so kinda makes sense that she would be an evil bitch in the game. But y'all might recall that she goes on this journey to get the 7 different princesses, because the princesses hold the light. And what are these 13 pieces of dark? 13 Kingdom Hearts organization. Oh my god, I just figured out Kingdom Hearts. But clearly we all can make sense of it, bro. 7 different lights, the 7 princesses, 13 pieces of dart, organization 13. We'll get to that eventually, but for now, just know that there's a huge conflict. Now, a lot of people call this Keyblade here the X blade, but I think this X is a letter in a different type of language and it just translates to key, so it's just Keyblade. But anyways, without the Keyblade, Kingdom Hearts disappears into darkness. And eventually, there was a young man who studied the Keyblade and learned about everything. This is the Master of Masters. Now, you probably are like, okay, he's the Master of Masters, but what is he truly the master of? Well, duh, nigga, masters. But anyways, he learns to forge smaller light-powered blades by extracting them from people's hearts. These are called Keyblades. Yeah, I know there's a Keyblade that unlocks Kingdom Hearts, but then there's also Keyblades. They're different things, okay? The thing that Sora has, the thing that Riku has at some point, I think, Mickey, you know, all those people, they're Keyblades, okay? But anyways, he becomes the Master of Masters, and he goes to a place called Daybreak Town and creates his own Keyblade called, well, it doesn't really have a name, actually. It just has this thing in it called the Gazing Eye, which can see anything. The eye witnesses the future. Yep, that's right. It sees the future. I wish that I had the Gazing Eye, so I would have known to invest in crypto, but you know, beggars can't be choosers, right? Anyways, this thing sees the future. It's like Katakuri from One Piece, or Luffy from One Piece, or Kaido from One Piece. Basically anybody strong in One Piece. I just wanted to make a One Piece reference, although the Keyblade is shattered into 20 pieces, but you know, whatever though, that's besides the point. Anyways, he uses these visions to write the Book of Prophecies. The book foretells a great Keyblade war where the darkness will inevitably win. To fight back, he recruits 5 apprentices. Well, it's really 6, but the 6th one doesn't really count. I mean, he does, but he doesn't, but you know, whatever. But the 5 of them get a copy of the Book of Prophecies. The 6th one, his name is Luciu. Now, Luciu's job is to pass down the Gazing Eye Keyblade through generations via bequeathing. Yep, bequeathing with the TH. For all y'all freaky frogs out there, I'm gonna be honest, I was one of those freaky frogs. I heard the word bequeathing and I got a weird tingle in my loins. Okay, my fault. Anyways, it creates a time loop though. So the eye keeps seeing events and the master could write the book in the first place. Luciu also gets this large black box. He's told to keep it safe and hidden. The master calls the contents hope and never really explains anything further. Pandora's box. Y'all niggas want to be God of War so bad. Now eventually the master forms 5 competing unions of young Keyblade wielders, each led by one of the 5 apprentices, who are called the Foretellers. Now Ira, or Ira, I want to say Ira though, I mean, I feel like Ira is a stupid name. So Ira is designated as the leader if something would happen to the master or he disappears, tasked with keeping calm and order despite the war prophecy looming. But as soon as this guy gets the job, the master vanishes and well, he's thrown into his role, unprepared. Bro came in to clock in, thought he was gonna have a good day at work and got bamboozled. Nigga immediately got tasked with his job. How am I supposed to keep it so precious, so clean? All right, my fault. Hey. Precious, so clean. All right, I'm sorry, I'm old. Okay, all right, I'm only 30, but you know, this generation, they hear 30 and they just, damn! All right, my fault. Anyways, Envy is the observer and the mediator. He's supposed to keep the balance and harmony among the group. He struggles though because tensions rise for a specific reason. We'll get to that soon. Aced is the enforcer, meant to support Ira. He's supposed to kind of be like her bodyguard, also keep the peace as well with her, but he ends up becoming aggressive and skeptical of everything. He wants to form alliances between the unions against the master's teachings. This creates more conflict and suspicion. Gula, and again, if I'm pronouncing these words wrong, please, for the love of God, don't chastise me in the comment section. I love Kingdom Hearts. I've played all the games for the most part, and I also am in love with Tifa, but that's besides the point, okay? Everybody else, please, for the love of God, leave me alone. Anyways, Gula is tasked with finding the traitor in the group. He's given a lost page from the Book of Prophecy. It tells us about this traitor, and well, his secrecy causes deep mistrust, especially with Aced. This is part of the reason why he gets so, you know, aggressive, untrusting. I would kind of be untrusting too if there was a guy who was tasked with finding out there's a traitor among us. Get what I did there? Among us. Do people still play Among Us? All right, my fault. Anyways, Ava is tasked with gathering the best young wielders and forming the dandelions. Yep, what a stupid name, the dandelions. Anyways, the children are trained to carry the light forward by being sent away before the war. This creates a moral dilemma of wanting to stop the war, not just survive it. Luciu gets none of the above, just his unique task of observing and passing this stupid Keyblade on. There's even a point in the Union game where this man is just lollygagging in a forest, bro, sitting on his ass, playing in the damn grass. What a swell job. Anyways, let's talk about the Union game. So there's a child here who we're just gonna call the player because it's a created player. It's like going on 2K, and you know, I could call him Sin, but I probably would never name myself that in the game where I'm a Keyblade user. I'd probably name it something stupid that I thought was cool, like Zane or Zyler. You know, one of those stupid ass names with a Z in it. Anyways, you pick one of the 5 unions and you get your own Keyblade. Now they meet their Cherothy, which is a small Dream Eater that I'm gonna call Dream Eater for the rest of the video because I'm not about to say Cherothy every time. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, and also I'm not about to sound stupid for 45 more minutes. But anyways, these Dream Eaters are creatures made by the Master of Masters to guide the wielders. You learn to fight Heartless and collect fragments of light called Lux. The worlds you visit are actually not real worlds. See, they're virtual projections created from the Book of Prophecies. They're data. They're not even real places. AI has infiltrated even our video games. Now, there's Nightmare Cherothees, who I'm going to call Nightmares for the rest of the video. Because again, I'm not about to sound stupid for the next 45 minutes. Now, eventually, we find out about these nightmares and that their wielder fell to darkness, so it became corrupted. Now, there's a nightmare in specific that poses as the player's own Dream Eater to secretly steer them towards darkness. Oh, so you're infiltrating our mind, making us bad people. Huh, what a crazy ass revelation. Do you want a revolution? Whoa, whoa. All right, I'm sorry. I have ADHD. The player ends up sleeping and having a dream, showing the Masters of Masters, speaking to the foretellers in the clock tower. The next day, you meet this guy named Ephemer, who is a Keyblade wielder from a different union. Ephemer tells the player that the worlds are just projections, and he wants to learn more about the foretellers' plans. So they agree to sneak into the clock tower together. But Ephemer goes missing before they meet. The player then finds Ava at the clock tower instead of Ephemer. Ava tests you and realizes that this is the friend that Ephemer told her about. Ava reveals that Ephemer fell into an unchained state and he's actually in a different realm at this point. But his heart somehow reached out to the player through dreams. You then meet this person named Scald, who was also visited by Ephemer in a dream. But Ephemer told her that the end of the world is near. Ava tests the player and Scald again in this fake ass battle scenario, and Ava then reveals that Ephemer was chosen to lead one of the 5 new unions after the war. So we find out that he's a dandelion, or at least he was chosen to be one. We're now on the part of the game that is right before the war. Ava invites the player and Scald to join the dandelions. Scald accepts pretty immediately and takes on a union leader role, but the player hesitates, knowing it means that he's leaving everyone else behind to die. What a conundrum. It's like, yo, you can leave and be safe and not die, and actually not have to even be in this war at all. Or you can stay here and get fucking smoked. The choice is yours. Now Ava gathers all the dandelions at the central fountain and rallies them with the motto, "May your heart be your guiding key," and then sends them away before the war. There's a person named Strelitzia. She was a dandelion chosen by Ava to lead one of the new unions. She goes to find the player. She wants to convince them to join before it's too late. But while searching an abandoned house, she is suddenly attacked by an unknown assailant. Oh my god! Oh, what happened? What is that?
Shut your bitch ass up, cuz.
Oh no!
Excuse me. I am your Dream Eater. I just wanted to say that I have noticed there is somebody of extreme darkness in this room, and it is not my father. My father is very black. He is very, very dark. I'm just saying.
Now at this point, her guidebook with instructions for leading after the war is stolen. She disappears, and her heart is released into the void. God damn, that bitch vanished. Now at this point, the Union starts stealing Lux from each other, and the seeds of war are planted. Aset attacks the player, and Iris steps in to warn them to prepare. But the player ends up passing out, dreaming of the coming war. But he wakes up to find Scald, who says Ava has disappeared, causing more chaos. So they go to Gula, who says that Ava wants to look for Luciu. Ava eventually finds Luciu. Remember I told you that he was just sitting in the grass. Yep, that's what happened. Bro sitting in the grass, not doing anything. He says that his task is to watch the future unfold, not to change it. I probably would have punched him in the shit at this point, but hey, what do I know? Now Ava accuses him of being the traitor from the lost page, but Lushu tells her the truth, and she refuses to accept it. So they have a fight. We don't really get to see the fight, it happens off screen, but I know Lushu is probably the winner because we see him shortly after this. Now obviously I don't think they fought to the death or anything. Like I can't see, how Lushu would have, I don't know, killed her. I don't think he's evil or anything, but then again, who knows? Anyways, the Nightmare Dream Eater returns, claiming to be born from darkness in the player's own heart. But the player ends up defeating it and severs the bond. We're now at the Keyblade War. A massive war erupts at the Badlands between all the Unions and the Foretellers, and the player is forced to fight each Foreteller one-on-one, including Ava, who tells them to run. Well, I guess that answers our question then. Ava's here, so obviously Lushu didn't kill her. Anyways, the player collapses from exhaustion because this nigga is not the one. Nigga's actually kinda ass. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, he probably is an ass because it's a created player, and I mean, usually the created players are main characters and they always get all the strongest abilities and they're super cold, but whatever. Anyways, his Dream Eater protects them as the war rages on around them. Now, the war is over, and we're in a new world. Scald wakes in a desolate post-war world. The Dandelion's hearts kept the worlds alive, but darkness split them apart. She ends up meeting Ephemer, and they find a graveyard of fallen Keyblades. They realize they're the first 2 of the 5 Union leaders, and every other Dandelion's memories have been erased as a part of the Master's plan. Scald and Ephemer meet Venus, the 3rd leader, who isn't sure why he was even selected. Imagine getting picked to be something cool, and then you realize that's your ass. It's kind of funny when you think about it, just saying. Yo, imagine being picked to be like super cold, like, yo, I'm the best, I'm super strong, I'm super this and that, I'm really that dude. And then you get the self-reflecting in the mirror at home and you cry because you're really trash and no one likes you and everyone hates you and you're kind of ass at everything. I'm projecting right now. I think I need therapy. I'm just kidding, guys, I'm kidding, all right? Kind of. But anyways, they then meet Brain, the 4th, who has left a copy of the Book of Prophecies by Ava. The 5th leader arrives, but it isn't who Ava intended. Strelitzia was supposed to be the 5th leader, but instead, Laurium shows up in her place. Nobody knows why yet. The 5 go to the Foreteller's chambers and find the Master's research on Dream Eaters. They create spirits to eat survivors' nightmares and erase their war memories. Scald and Ephemer find the unconscious player, who briefly wakes to reunite with them. Then the player wakes up in the new world with their memories erased. They were dreaming of the war the entire time. We then find out about data worlds. Brain discovers they may be inside a virtual Daybreak town, not the real one. Maleficence appears in the virtual world from the future. Yep, she could time travel because of events that haven't happened yet. Anyways, a darkness entity manipulates her and helps her escape back to her own time via a lifeboat pod. This is the same darkness that put her on the mission to get the 7 lights. That is why that was her mission in the first game. Laurium discovers his sister is Strelitzia, who went missing. Learns that she was searching for the player before she disappeared. Brain reads the Book of Prophecies and finds Ventus, under the darkness's influence, attacked Laurium's sister and stole her guidebook, but he has no memory of it. The darkness reveals there is a failsafe in the data world. When all the lifeboat pods leave the data world, everything, including the darkness, gets sealed inside forever. Ventus realizes if darkness is pure darkness, then he must be pure light. Then he uses that to physically manifest the darkness so his friends can defeat it. Lushu appears in the real world at this time and destroys the one conscious darkness shadowed there. It's revealed that Lushu, the Master of Masters, and the 5 Foretellers all trap the 7 most powerful ancient darknesses within their own hearts. The remaining 6 of 13 roam free. Laurium ends up forgiving Ventus. Now Laurium, Alrina, and Ventus escape in a lifeboat pod into the future. Their destination unknown. Ephemer and Scald also eventually escape. The player tricks Ephemer into sealing them inside the data world with 4 darkness shadows to keep the darkness contained. The player's heart awakens in a white void, giving a choice to let the heart sleep or merge into a future person. One path shows a person in a blue robe adopting a baby boy descended from Ephemer on Destiny Islands. The baby is named Xehanort. Dun 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 dun! Imagine being the nigga that fuses with the dark Sidious of Kingdom Hearts. What a swell choice. My God. I'd probably off myself. Now at this point, Luciu walks through the Keyblade graveyard with the black box and the gazing-eyed Keyblade. He has been inhabiting different bodies across generations, observing history. Centuries later, someone who looks like Brain wakes up in Scala ad Caelum, a city built on top of the ruins of Daybreak Town. The first statue in the square is Ephemer, the original Keyblade master and founder of the city. Ephemer built Scala ad Caelum to preserve Keyblade knowledge and pass it down. It hosts the Mark of Mastery exam, the highest test a Keyblade wielder can take. At this point, we're going to talk about young Xehanort. He grows up on Destiny Islands, raised by the reincarnated player. Wait a minute. I thought that this guy got revived into this man Xehanort this whole time. I just realized that this dark blue robe nigga is the player. That's even worse. Nigga, you raised Dark Sidious. Yo, imagine being the nigga that created Dark Sidious, bro. I'm just saying, bro. That's crazy. Anyways, Xehanort is told that he's a child of destiny, descended from a renowned Keyblade wielder. Plagued by dreams of the Keyblade War, a mysterious robed figure opens a corridor of darkness for him. It's actually his own future Heartless, Ansem, but he doesn't know that yet. He arrives in Scala ad Caelum and meets Arrakis, and they quickly become close friends. They train together under a master named Odin. Other students are Erd, Vor, Bragi, Hermod, and Balder. Wait a minute, are these niggas from mythology? Hey, yo, that's crazy. Anyways, Xehanort and Arrakis often play a chess-like game called Alba and Alpha. They discuss light versus darkness while they play. The Gazing Eye Keyblade has been passed down and now hangs on Odin's classroom wall, watching them. 7 upperclassmen go missing during their Mark of Mastery exams, so Odin sends the underclassmen to search across the worlds. They find Heartless there and realize that the upperclassmen were likely overwhelmed. They discover darkness can bury itself inside a heart and influence decisions without the person realizing. One upperclassman, Vidar, is found acting strange, trying to collect 7 lights to summon Kingdom Hearts and use it to destroy true darkness. Master Odin explains the 13 ancient darknesses are converging. The 7 most powerful were trapped inside past Keyblade Masters, now called the Lost Masters. But 4 others were trapped in another realm, and 2 were thought to be destroyed. Balder's sister Hodir is killed by Maleficent in dragon form while protecting him. The group enters the underworld at Olympus Coliseum, and they win a tournament to gain entry. You find Hodir and a fallen classmate inside. Hodir asks Xehanort for a secret favor before her heart disappears. The group races back when Balder is chosen as a vessel of darkness. The darkness inside Balder reveals it killed most of the class, kills Vidar, Vala, and Vali. Then Vor, making 11 victims total. Xehanort and Arrakis battle the heartless form of darkness inside Balder, and they win. But Balder warns Xehanort that when he loses the person he cares about, Arrakis, he will also fall to darkness. Hodir's favor is revealed. She has sheltered her heart inside Xehanort since the underworld. Her spirit strikes Balder down, giving Xehanort the opening to finish it. Xehanort destroys the darkness inside Balder. It's kind of funny going through this story so far because, from what I can notice, my man Xehanort was actually a good guy. Someone that had at least a small amount of light inside of him. I know I keep calling Xehanort Young Sidious or Dark Sidious because, you know, he just reminds me of Emperor Palpatine so much in Kingdom Hearts. But I wonder if Emperor Palpatine was ever good before he decided to become a Sith. I don't know much about Star Wars lore. Maybe I gotta drop a Star Wars vid. Anyways, that doesn't matter. What does matter is that my man Xehanort, although he was being a good dude at some point, we all know what ended up happening. He fell to the darkness. Every time I say darkness, I think about my black ass dad. Sorry about that, Dad. I know you're probably listening, but there's this one time I was a kid, it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and you came outside of your room, all the lights were off, and I swear to God, I saw floating eyeballs and teeth. Shit traumatized me. Anyways, a year later, Xehanort deliberately walks through a corridor of darkness without armor on. He lets the darkness seep in, and he collapses. A robed figure arrives and recognizes Xehanort as the Singularity. He gives him a black coat that protects better than the armor, and asks him to search for darkness in people's hearts across the world and return. So Xehanort returns to the Keyblade graveyard. The robed figure is revealed as the Master of Masters. They discuss Xehanort's travels and his dark view of human nature. Xehanort believes that darkness is in every heart, and people justify selfish acts with hollow reasons. Haha, I see what he did there. Hollow reasons. Haha, hollow bash. All right, maybe that wasn't a correlation. Am I corny? All right, my fault. But he believes that he must impose order or the world will collapse into chaos. The Master of Masters encourages him to follow his convictions. He identifies himself only as a lost master. And he leaves with the words, "May your heart be your guiding key." Now, I remember that one of the masters, or one of the, fallen masters or whatever they're called, they also said this. So now I'm like, okay, did she or he? The name makes me think it's a girl. But I'm not trying to be one of those guys that messes up the pronouns, Fuck around and get canceled nowadays for that. You call someone he by accident, they identify as a robot. Now you're in a world against a fleet of Gundams. And I don't want that to happen. I respect all LGBTQ members on my channels. However, I think it was a girl, so I'm gonna say it was a girl. Now I wonder if she learned all of that from the Master of Masters. Makes me think. Yo, imagine how that conversation went. They just sitting there in the darkness. This man's Xander on this dark edgy shit like Juice WRLD. I still see the shadow in my room. Hey, calm down with all that Juice WRLD shit, man. Hey, rest in peace, Juice, by the way, you feel me? Gotta show love and respect, but I don't want to hear all that bullshit, man. All that dark shit. Need to calm down with that, cuz. They here talking about, I still see the shadow. Man, Xander, stop playing with me, cuz. But listen, I feel like you probably should follow your convictions, though, you feel me? Like, if you feel like you need to steer the world so they don't fall into chaos, then man, do your thing.
Man, that's what I've been saying this whole time. Shit, I get to walking around, I see people, darkness here, darkness there. I seen a nigga rob somebody yesterday for a damn Wendy's Frosty keychain. Like, come on, cuz. You robbing niggas for free Frosties?
That's the shit niggas be on, cuz.
2 years after this, Xehanort gets the Gazing Eye Keyblade, bequeathed to him by Odin. God, that word is funny. He tells Arrakis, summoning Kingdom Hearts is the only way to protect the world. They can't really agree, so they come to blows. Over the next 5 decades, Xehanort plans and searches across the worlds. This is when we get into the birth by sleep setup. Elderly Master Xehanort finds young Ventus in the Keyblade graveyard, and he arrived from the past via a lifeboat pod. Now you remember at Daybreak Town, or at least the Data version, all those people left on the lifeboat pods. They went to different timelines, I guess, or I guess not timelines, but like different time periods. They can time travel and shit, like how Maleficent did, whatever. Anyways, Ventus comes from the past, and he gets here. Xehanort finds him. Now he ends up taking him in as an apprentice, believing that he can help forge the Keyblade, which is, not to be confused with regular Keyblades. We're talking about the X-Blade, even though it's not X-Blade, and I'm not going to call it that because y'all aren't going to be in the comments telling me that I'm pronouncing stuff wrong, or me and you are going to fucking fight. Anyways, he has a theory that a pure heart of light fighting a pure heart of darkness can recreate it. He tests this on Ventus, but the boy can't handle the fight. Xehanort strips the darkness from Ventus's heart. It manifests as a masked boy called Vanitas. Ventus's heart is now broken and incomplete. So Xehanort takes the unconscious Ventus to Destiny Islands to recover. Baby Sora, not yet born, senses Ventus's fractured heart and connects with it. He gives Ventus the strength to survive and a reason to one day win back what he lost. Ventus wakes up and he wields his Keyblade, which shocks Xehanort. He takes Ventus, who now has no memories, to the land of departure, just to get up to speed, right? So we now know that Vanitas is born out of Ventus. That's the darkness of his heart. Okay, cool. Then we know that Ventus was there, and because he had a fractured heart, Sora, who was of light, reached out to him, connected with him. So a lot of people don't know this, but the Keyblade that Sora had was supposed to be Riku's, okay? Which is why Riku can interact with it. You remember in Kingdom Hearts 1, he took it from him, but then Sora took it back. The Keyblade ended up choosing Sora because Riku was kind of like turned into the darkness. But the reason why Sora ended up getting the Keyblade and not Riku is because he reached out to Ventus, connected with him out of light, and Riku was dwelling in that darkness. So basically it's like Sora, he decided he was going to be a good guy, decided he was going to be a swell pal. He was going to, reach out to Ventus and help him. And Riku was over there doing lines of fentanyl. I know that was extreme, but that's what the darkness feels like. Like y'all niggas doing Fent? My fault. Anyways, he asked his old friend Master Ericus to train the boy. Ericus already has apprentices, Terra and Aqua. Xehanort claims Ventus is the child of destiny, but really, he just wants Arrakis to train his weapon. Xehanort asks Arrakis permission to forge the Keyblade and unlock Kingdom Hearts. Arrakis refuses, and they battle violently. Xehanort overpowers Arrakis, scars him, and then leaves. You see what I'm saying? This man just be pulling up on people and fighting them. How you gonna ask this man a question and then get mad when he says no? Hey man, you think it'd be cool if I, forge the Keyblade and open up Kingdom Hearts? Hell no, cuz. What is you fucking tripping? All right, then throw hands then, pussy. Wait, what you mean, cuz? Well, you said no, so throw hands then, pussy. Man, I don't even feel like fighting, man. I got shit to do today, man. Basketball's coming on, bro. I got a parlay. Man, shut your bitch ass up. Now at this point, Aqua makes 3 Wayfinder charms shaped like Papu fruits for herself, Terra, and Mentis. A star-shaped fruit set to interconnect the destinies of those who share it. She hopes the charms will always lead them back to each other. Meanwhile, Yen Sid warns Arrakis something terrible is coming. The 7 princesses of Heart, who carry the pure light of the shattered Keyblade, are under threat from both Heartless and creatures called Unversed. Unversed feed on negative emotions and were created unknowingly from Vanitas when Xehanort split him from Ventus. We now enter the Mark of Mastery exam. Aqua and Terra take the Mark of Mastery exam before Arrakis. Xehanort secretly sabotages it by introducing darkness into the orbs. Aqua passes and becomes a Keyblade master, but Terra fails because he can't control the darkness in his heart. Xehanort plants seeds of doubt in Terra, telling him darkness shouldn't be feared, but used. Arrakis secretly asks Aqua to watch over Terra and bring him home if his darkness grows. Vanitas tells Ventus that Terra is leaving him behind and will be different by the time Ven catches up. So Ventus chases after Terra against everyone's wishes. Arrakis sends Aqua after Ventus. Now at this point, Terra goes on a journey. He ends up going to the Enchanted Dominion, the Sleeping Beauty world. Maleficent senses the darkness in him and manipulates him. Terra is put into a trance and uses Keyblade to extract Princess Aurora's heart, the first of the 7 princesses of Heart, but snaps out of it and refuses to help Maleficent collect the others. In Radiant Garden, Braig, excuse me if I pronounced that wrong, who is secretly Luxu in a new body, stages a fake kidnapping of Xehanort. Terra battles Braig and the darkness erupts and destroys Braig's eye. Xehanort congratulates him, saying that Terra can no longer return to Arrakis and offers to mentor him. Terra accepts. On Destiny Island, Terra senses light in young Riku and bequeaths him the ability to one day wield a Keyblade. So it seems like my man Terra has been being manipulated, okay? So we got 3 different people, Ventus, he seems kind of, what's the word? Naive a little bit. Like, you can tell he's got youth, but he also wants to help, but he also doesn't know if he should be helping in the way that he is. Like, it's like he wants to help, but he's also trying to compete. I don't know what's up with Ventus. And then Aqua, she just seems pure of heart. Like, she really seems like she's just trying to help her friends, and she's a being of light, at least for now. And Terra, it's just like, he's kind of crashing, bro. Like, he took his test, he failed. Failure! He can't control the darkness in his heart. Bro is just completely crashing out at this point. That's what it seems like to me. Feel bad for him, kind of, but at the same time, it's like, hey, bro, sometimes you just gotta let shit go, bro. You feel me? And it's like, I know that the darkness in your heart was overwhelming you, but you can't just let the darkness overwhelm you completely, bro, to the point of you crashing out. Like, you get mad at your friends or shit, get mad at the situation. You letting this old ass nigga who clearly is on the Epstein files manipulate you. Like, come on, bro. Like, I'm just saying. Now you helping him. You getting mentored by the nigga that pulled up, fought your former master and smoked him. Anyways, Aqua has started traveling, looking for Terra and Ventus at this point. In Radiant Gardens, she protects a young girl named Kyrie from the Unversed alongside Mickey Mouse. She senses pure light inside of Kyrie and casts a protection spell on her, saying one day if Kyrie falls into trouble, the light in her heart will lead her to the light of another. Later, she visits Destiny Islands and meets young Sora and Riku. She notes that Sora resembles Ventus and Riku resembles Terra. She tells Sora to keep Riku from the dark path. Now Ventus is following Terra's trail across the worlds at this point. In Radiant Gardens, he meets a young orphan named Lenzo and 2 boys named Leah and Issa. He has a playful mock sword fight with Leia, and later finds King Mickey has gone missing at the Keyblade graveyard. He goes to rescue him, and Mickey heals Ventus after Vanitas attacks him. Mickey and Ventus briefly fight. Mickey and Ventus get the jump on Vanitas' dumbass, and together they drive him off. Mickey shows Ventus the Star Shard, which has enabled him to travel between worlds. The shard suddenly teleports Mickey away, and Ventus ends up with it. He uses it to reach the mysterious tower and speak with Yen Sid. Yen Sid reveals Mickey is in danger at the Keyblade graveyard, so Ventus heads there. So now you can see you got 3 different people, 3 different paths, but all of them kind of do similar things. It's like right when you about to get to this nigga Terra, he goes somewhere else. It kind of reminds me when Sora was looking for Riku a little bit. Like he would almost catch up to him and then boom, disappear. Then he'll finally see him later, they'll talk, interact. But that's kind of like how it is. Like they're chasing after Terra, but he's like 1 step ahead right now. Like Terra had went to Destiny Islands as well, talked to Riku and shit, bequeathed them. Crazy word. I'm just saying, it's just crazy. I'm just saying. Aqua went there, met with Sora and Riku. Ventus, Terra, and Aqua all went to Radiant Gardens. Like they all kind of going to the same place. Anyways, Xehanort tricks Ventus into confronting Arrakis about his true origins. Ventus accuses Arrakis of keeping him prisoner, and Arrakis realizes that Xehanort never gave up the plan to forge the Keyblade at all. He decides the only way to stop it is to destroy Ventus. Terra arrives just in time and stands between them. Terra holds off Arrakis and then battles him one-on-one. Terra mortally wounds his master. Arrakis, in his final moments, apologizes and admits his own heart was darkness. Arrakis disappears, his body fading into light. Xehanort arrives and taunts Terra and invites him to the Keyblade graveyard. And then he unleashes darkness on the land of departure, destroying it whole. Terra vows to protect his friends though, and he flies away for the last time. So now we're at the Keyblade graveyard. Remember, this is like the big final, you know? Mickey Mouse is in trouble there, Ventus needs to go there. You know what I'm saying? On the way there, he encounters Arrakis. They get to squabbling almost. Terra stops him like, whoa, 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 that's my friend fault, nigga. Whole time Xehanort's been the one behind the scenes manipulating everything with his old ass. I told you he on them files. What was it? 30 million pages, 3 million pages, it was something crazy. I know Xehanort on there somewhere. You feel me? There's too many pages for him not to be. Bro probably was chilling with Epstein and them, bro. Everything I done seen from this man so far, bro, is pointing me in that direction. I'm just saying. All he be doing is chilling with kids, manipulating kids, and he old. I'm just saying, and he be moving around like he got the drip of a nigga with money. Like he might got some paper, bro. I'm just saying. Anyways, we're finally here. Terra, Ventus, and Aqua reunite among the fallen Keyblades. And Ventus asks them to end it if it goes too far. Xehanort and Vanitas arrive. The trio don their armor. Xehanort separates them with flying Keyblades and landscape manipulation. He freezes Ventus in ice and drops him off of a cliff. Aqua catches him though. Xehanort summons Kingdom Hearts above the graveyard. Terra charges at Xehanort, and then Braig arrives and battles Aqua to buy time. Vanitas strikes Aqua down, but Ventus breaks free to protect her and battles Vanitas. Vanitas then removes his mask and merges with Ventus. The surge of energy erupts, and Aqua is thrown over a hill. The merged Ventus and Vanitas holds the reformed Keyblade. Xehanort turns his own Keyblade on himself and sends his heart into Terra's body and takes him over from within. Terra Xehanort is born. Terra's discarded armor reassembles by itself. The lingering will fights Terra Xehanort, but is eventually overpowered. Aqua wakes alongside Mickey and finds Ventus holding the Keyblade with yellow eyes. Mickey and Aqua fight the Ventus Vanitas union. Aqua uses her Wayfinder to deliver a final strike. She frees Ventus, and the Keyblade self-destructs in a massive explosion. Inside Ventus's own heart, he has a final battle against Vanitas' influence. But Vanitas ends up disappearing. This takes a heavy toll on Ventus's heart. Shit, at this point, everything is screwed up, bro. You got everybody fighting everybody. This man, Ventus, he done broke out of ice, ended up merging with Vanitas. You got Terra body getting taken by Xehanort heart and shit. Then the lingering will. I never even knew what the lingering will was. I fought that nigga in Kingdom Hearts 2, the final mix joint, the 2.5 or whatever, and that nigga was whooping my ass. Whole time, it's this dude Terra's lingering will. Sheesh. Then this dude Ventus's heart leaves his body to seek refuge, right? So he falls into a fucking coma. This nigga falls into a coma. Like, what's going on with this dude? Now, Mickey finds Aqua and Ventus unconscious, and he brings him to the mysterious tower. Aqua takes Ventus back to the ruined land of departure and uses Arrakis' fallen Keyblade to lock the world away. It transforms into Castle Oblivion. She places Ventus in the Chamber of Waking inside to sleep and heal. Aqua goes to Radiant Garden after this and finds Terra Xehanort. She battles him, but Xehanort summons a dark figure as his guardian. Unbeknownst to Aqua, Terra's heart is caged inside the Guardian. Aqua defeats Terra Xehanort, allowing Terra to briefly fight for control. Terra Xehanort turns the Keyblade on himself and falls into a dark portal. Aqua jumps in to save him. Inside the darkness, she grabs his hand and gives him her Keyblade and armor so he can return to the light. She sacrifices herself and falls into the realm of darkness alone. She tells Ventus it might take her a bit longer to come back. On Destiny Islands, young Sora cries for reasons he doesn't understand. Something inside him tells him that Ventus's heart is sad. Ventus's heart finds young Sora and asks to stay to heal. Sora agrees and accepts Ventus into his heart. Back at Radiant Garden, Terra Xehanort is found unconscious by Braig and brought to Ansem the Wise, the Sage King of Radiant Garden. But he wakes with no memories, and he calls himself Xehanort. Ansem the Wise begins experimenting on his heart, trying to restore his memories. But Terra Xehanort secretly starts running his own experiments on darkness and heartless creations. A mysterious girl with no memories is found in Radiant Garden called Subject X. She only remembers 4 friends and the key, and the phrase, "May your heart be your guiding key." She seems to come from an ancient time like the age of fairy tales. She's kept in a cell secretly and visited by young Leia and Issa who befriend her. One day she's released from the cell by a man in an eye patch like Braid, and she's never seen again. Leia and Issa join the organization later, partly to find out what happened to her. Over time, Terra Xehanort regains his own memories and manipulates his fellow apprentices and experiments. Braig, Dylan, even Elias and Enzo all join in. Kyrie, surrounded by Heartless and Radiant Garden, is found by Terra Xehanort. He places her in a lifeboat pod, believing she is a princess of heart. Her heart leads her to Destiny Islands, where she grows up befriending Sora and Riku. Terra Xehanort and the apprentices banish Ansem the Wise to the realm of darkness. Terra Xehanort takes the name Ansem to claim his authority. Sheesh! So this dude popped up, Ansem the Wise found him, tried to help him, and then this nigga took his damn name? Bro is slimy. I ain't gonna lie, bro grew up and said, my grandma said, watch the grass whole time I'm the snake. This nigga Pooh Shiesty, bro. This dude is slimy as shit. Yo, calm down with that bullshit, Xehanort. I ain't gonna lie, but this makes sense. Cause you remember in Kingdom Hearts, we find out that there's this other Ansem that isn't the real Ansem. Whole time, it's this nigga. It's Terra Xehanort. So Terra Xehanort gives his heart to darkness and uses the Gazing Eye Keyblade to split himself into a Heartless and a Nobody. This Heartless retains his intelligence and his memories, but has no bodies. It names itself Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, and wears a hooded brown robe, hiding his empty face. His Nobody retains the body and soul, but lacks a heart. He names himself Xemnas, an anagram of Ansem with an added X. The other 5 apprentices go through the same process. Braid becomes Zigbar, Dylan becomes Zaldin, Avon becomes Vexen, Elias becomes Lexus, Yenzo becomes Zexion. Leia and Issa join voluntarily, hoping to find Subject X. They become Axel and Sai. The 2 Union leaders from the fairy tale era who escaped via lifeboat pods also end up here. Lorium and Elrina fall to darkness, becoming Marluxia and Larsheen. Demix and Luxord are also created, their original personas unknown. Xemnas names the group Organization 13. The base of the operations is the world that never was. He tells them they are nobodies who can only regain their hearts by completing Kingdom Hearts. In reality, Xemnas and Zigbar as Lushu are using the nobodies as vessels for Xehanort's heart fragments. The real plan is to fill each vessel with a piece of Xehanort's heart and then clash 7 lights against 13 darknesses to forge the Keyblade. Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, has no body, but he can travel through time to places where a version of himself exists. He travels back to Destiny Islands in the past and opens the corridor of darkness for young Xehanort. The mysterious rogue figure that started Xehanort's whole journey was his own future Heartless all along. This nigga different. I ain't gonna lie, bro. This nigga's out of pocket. This man done been helping himself from his past, from him in the future. Yo, this nigga's different, guys. Like, yo, this man like Marty McFly. He also gives himself the ability to time travel. Yo, this nigga just giving out abilities? What are you, Oprah? You get an ability. You get an ability. How about you pay off my debt and give me a Honda Accord? He returns to Destiny Islands and he hides, waiting for his next move. He also marks Kairi and sends her away in a lifeboat so her heart can lead her to a Keyblade wielder. He's the one that did this the whole time with Kairi as well. Remember, before she got sent, you know what I mean, in a lifeboat pod. So he's the reason why she ended up here, which is crazy. I'm just saying. Now we're finally in Kingdom Hearts 1. 10 years later, Sora's a teenager on Destiny Islands with Kairi and Riku, and all three want to explore the outside world on a raft. But Kairi doesn't remember where she came from. A storm ends up hitting and the Heartless invade. Sora finds Riku, who talks about a door opening to the outside world. Darkness engulfs Riku, so Sora summons the Kingdom Key. He finds Kairi in the secret place where the hidden door burst open. As they embrace, Kairi vanishes. Her heart takes shelter inside Sora, and Sora is swept into a dark vortex. He then ends up in Traverse Town. He wakes up there and collects refugees from worlds consumed by Heartless. Donald and Goofy arrive looking for someone with a key per Mickey's orders. Leon ends up defeating Sora when he won't hand over the Keyblade. Sora wakes and learns about the Heartless and Ansem's research reports scattered across the worlds. He reunites with Donald and Goofy and forms a trio. He then learns that Maleficent has been using Heartless to take over the worlds and is searching for the 7 princesses of Heart. They travel to different Disney worlds, locking keyholes to seal out the Heartless. Sora ends up finding Riku in Traverse Town, but he feels replaced by Donald and Goofy and he vanishes. Maleficent sows doubts in Riku, suggesting Sora replaced him. Riku agrees to work with Maleficent in exchange for Kairi's location. He discovers Kairi's body is lifeless, her heart taken by Heartless, but she isn't dead. Maleficent tells him that gathering 7 princesses of Heart will open a way to recover Kairi. Maleficent bestows Riku the power to control Heartless. So Riku brings Kairi to Hollow Bastion. Riku then steals the Kingdom Key from Sora and leaves him a wooden toy sword. Donald and Goofy follow Riku per Mickey's orders, leaving Sora alone. But Sora summons the power from within his heart and the Keyblade returns to him. Riku uses an Ansem Keyblade, stabs Maleficent, unlocking true darkness in her. She transforms into a dragon. Sora and friends defeat Maleficent and she vanishes. Riku unlocking her heart with Ansem's Keyblade is what gave Maleficent the ability to time travel in the future. Remember, I told you that eventually Maleficent would have the ability to time travel, but she got this ability from something in the past. Well, that's what happened. Riku used Ansem's Keyblade, unlocked her heart, made her dark as shit, but also gave her the power to time travel. I know it's all convoluted, but that's just how it works here, man. You know, stuff happened in the past, it affect the future, vice versa. You get used to it. It's kind of crazy, but that's just what it is. But off of Maleficent, weird ass, because none of that really matters. What does matter though is we're at the final keyhole at this point, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what that means. I mean, I do know because it's the final keyhole to seal in the game, but also I feel like that's a sexual innuendo. I'm just saying, and maybe I'm just being freaky. But anyways, Sora finds Kairi at the final keyhole. See? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Now this evil ass dude Ansem is talking to everybody, and he explains through Riku that Kairi's heart is inside Sora all along. So Sora picks up the Keyblade and he plunges it into his own chest. This nigga done stabbed himself. Oh my god. Now when he does this, it releases all the princesses' hearts, including Kairi, who reawakens at this point. Sora's own heart is unlocked, and 2 nobodies are created. Zora's nobody is found by Xemnas near the old mansion in Twilight Town, and Ventus's heart, still inside Sora, passes into this nobody, giving him an identical appearance to Ventus. This would later become Roxas, and that's why Roxas looks exactly like Ventus. Anyways, Xemnas rearranges Sora's name, adds an S to it, boom, Roxas. Yep, the organization 13 are very unique with their names. They just take it, flip it around, and put an X on it. Bust down, flip it, and reverse it. It's for the friend again. All right, I'm sorry, I'm old. Anyways, Kyrie's nobody. Naminé appears in the castle Oblivion. Her closeness to Sora gives her the ability to manipulate his memories. Sora becomes a Heartless briefly, and well, it's kind of funny. I mean, he doesn't even become like a cool Heartless either. He becomes like one of those like little ass Heartlesses, like, you know, one of the basic ones you kill in the beginning of the game. Imagine being super strong, running around, getting all these cool abilities. You become a Heartless and, well, your ass. I'm just saying. But anyways, it doesn't really matter because Kyrie recognizes him among the Heartless and she shields him. Her act of light restores Sora to his human form. Now we're finally at the point of sealing the final keyhole in Kingdom Hearts 1. The group escapes the Hollow Bastion and returns to Traverse Town, but Kyrie stays behind for safety and gives Sora the Wayfinder charm. She tells him wherever he goes that she'll always be with him. And Sora returns and seals the final keyhole. But on his way to the end of the world, Xemnas appears and enters Sora, absorbing his memories. But Sora follows Ansem to the end of the world. We get this big ass multi-phase boss fight through Ansem's forms. I'll have the editor show, you know, boss fights and stuff as we go along. I know that you guys are like, yo, Sin, why aren't you explaining, you know, the stuff that's happening in the Disney worlds? Like, why aren't you going through the Disney World stuff? Well, that's because it's not the main lore, you know? Like, that is what happened, but most of the stuff that happens in the Disney worlds is, you know, stuff that you do as a player. So I don't think it's very relevant to the story, okay? Now, if you want me to go through a more detailed version of Kingdom Hearts, where I literally go through every game, every single choice, I mean, that video would be like 9 hours long. But I guess I'd do it if that's what you guys want me to, but I need at least 8,000 likes to do that, bro. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. I need at least 8,000. Keep it 1,000, I need 8,000. All right, my fault. Anyways, Ansem retreats at this point and he goes to the door of the Kingdom Hearts and he opens it, expecting darkness. And Sora declares Kingdom Hearts is not darkness, but light. And the light from the Kingdom Hearts destroys Ansem. Sora down on a Goofy try to close the door, but the darkness is too strong. But Riku and Mickey appear from the realm of darkness on the other side, and together they seal the door, locking Riku and Mickey inside. The world begins restoring. Sora and Kairi briefly reunite before being separated as Destiny Islands rebuilds, but Sora promises to return. I wonder what Aqua's doing. Why don't we go check on her? Well, Akna is still in the realm of darkness. She's been wandering the realm of darkness for years, just fighting Heartless. At this point, she has to be max level. I mean, literally years of fighting Heartless, she's different. But she encounters illusions of Terra and Ventus. Terra warns her not to reveal Ventus's location as Xehanort controls his body. Terra briefly holds Xehanort back to protect her. Mickey arrives in the realm of darkness searching for the Kingdom Key, needed to seal the door of darkness from both sides. Mickey and Aqua fight through Heartless to find it, and they reach the door of darkness. I like to call this the door of my father. Nigga black as shit. Anyways, a massive Heartless swarm attacks, and they get separated. But Mickey rushes to help Riku seal the door from the light side, and Aqua ends up alone on the dark version of Destiny Islands. Left alone in the realm of darkness again, and she keeps wandering. At this point, we're gonna go over 358 over 2 days. This is Roxas' actual and Xian's story. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Xian's name right, so please don't kill me in the comments. So Roxas joins Organization 13 under Axel's guidance. Him and Axel, they eat sea salt ice cream on the clock tower, and it kind of becomes their tradition. But they notice a new member, Xian. Xian is an imperfect replica created from the memories that Xemnas absorbed from Sora to Hollow Bastion. Her appearance shifts depending on who looks at her. To Roxas, she resembles a dark-haired Kairi. Roxas, Axel, and Xian bond deeply over missions and sunsets. Xian starts absorbing Sora's memories, which begin draining Roxas. Meanwhile, Diz, who is actually Ansem the Wise in disguise, and Riku are working to restore Sora's memories. Riku, in a black coat and blindfold, spots Xian and is shocked by her Keyblade and resemblance to Kairi. The organization forms an artificial Kingdom Hearts above their base from the hearts Roxas releases by defeating Heartless. Xemnas visits a room in the Castle Oblivion called the Chamber of Repose. He sits beside Armor and speaks to it as a friend, believing it connects to someone inside. It's Aqua's discarded armor. Axel is secretly tasked with eliminating traitors inside Castle Oblivion. Xian becomes aware of her nature as a replica created to duplicate Roxas's abilities. Her existence is fragmenting Sora's memories, and it's delaying his awakening. Riku finds Xian and tells her the memory she holds belongs to Sora. Now at this point, she realizes that what's going on is causing Sora not to wake up, which is kind of shitty. I mean, my man Sora is basically stuck in a weird limbo right now, you know? This is what happens before Kingdom Hearts 2. A lot of y'all remember Sora is stuck in this stupid ass pod and you're running around as Roxas in the beginning and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Well, yeah, basically this game is what leads up to that game. Now, Xian visits Naminé and accepts she must return the memories and disappear. Her friends won't even remember her. Xemnas captures her and carries her off. Xian escapes to the clock tower for one final moment with Roxas, removes her hood, and Roxas sees Sora's face. She attacks him, trying to absorb him to return to Sora as her purpose demands. After an emotional battle, Xian falls and begins to fade. She tells Roxas to free the collected hearts from the false Kingdom Hearts before Xemnas uses them, and says she loves them, calls them her best friends, and asks Roxas never to forget. She fades away, leaving only a single seashell behind. Roxas sobs. Who else will I have ice cream with? I get no hoes, nigga. Literally no hoes want me, nigga. My name is Roxas, cuz. What kind of stupid ass name is that? They gonna take Sora name, flip it around, put an X on it? You flipping and reversing shit? What you think, you Missy Elliott, cuz? God damn, cuz. Axel wakes up to find an envelope containing a sea salt ice cream stick marked winner. Roxas returns to the castle that never was to stop Xemnas, now able to wield two Keyblades since Xian's influence no longer splits Ventus and Sora's heart. Riku is watching from above and tries to stop him, but Roxas overpowers Riku. Riku removes his blindfold and unleashes the darkness he's been holding back, transforming into an Ansem-like form. He defeats Roxas, whose memories of Xian begin to